Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds. So this is where I like to collect together all the albums that I've purchased over the past week and present it to you, give you a little background and that sort of stuff, even little mini reviews on the new stuff. I've got, 6 or 7 CDs here and 1 LP to run through with you, and we'll do that here in just a bit. But if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on really cool videos just like this with New Music Finds. So as always, I like to kick off with new releases, and I don't think a lot of people know that this came out, or if they did, they had a hard time tracking it down the way that I did. But a new Joe Perry album, and yes, it does look like this one here, which came out in 2018, Switzerland Manifesto. But if you see, this is Mark II version of the album itself. The thing is, both of these had 10 tracks on it, but he dropped 6 tracks from the original and added 6 new tracks on here. The 4 songs that he kept on here have either alternate vocal, they're an alternate take, different guitar solo, whatever. So all in all, this album here has an entirely different feel to it than the original one from 2018. So what is that? We've got 5 years between the albums. I'm not sure why he didn't just choose to release a brand new one, even if he brought 4 of those songs over from the previous album in 2018. The other thing is that without changing the album cover, most people aren't going to know that there's anything different, because with just this little bit here, the MK2 Mark II information, I don't think it really screams out to people that this is different, but it is. And between these two, I have to say this. I'm a huge Joe Perry fan. I'm a huge Aerosmith fan. I like Joe Perry Project and his solo stuff. I could not get into this album. I tried and I tried and I tried and I just didn't dig it. I don't know if it was the song specifically, the mix, the style of it. It just didn't work for me. This, from the moment I put it on, I was like, that is what has been missing. This sounds like it's got some cool, stuff from the Joe Perry Project era. Really, really good. The first 2 songs on here are the ones that interested me the most. And that was a big drawback on this one. This one opened with an instrumental, which really wasn't any kind of shredding guitar or stuff like that, Rumble in the Jungle. And then it moved into the first single, I'll Do Happiness. And I don't know, it just didn't work for me. But this one here has a song called Fortunate One that kicks it off, that sounds like classic Joe Perry Project or Aerosmith sounding stuff. But we've got Chris Robinson of the Black Crowes singing. The second track on here, Quake, features Gary Cherone of Extreme, who is his touring member right now that is singing live. If you go see Joe Perry live, you're going to see Gary Cherone. So you get that on here. Third track on here is I'll Do Happiness, so it is that first single from back in 2018. But while that first one didn't really have any kick to it, this one sounds a lot better. So start to finish, great album, highly recommend it. It is the definitive version over this one here. And reason I'm holding a vinyl, if you didn't catch this earlier, no CDs are being issued on. And that's why I say I think a lot of people didn't know this was coming out. Only coming out on vinyl, at least for now. You can get a digital copy of this, but in terms of physical, it's LP only. This, though, is pretty cool. Purple and white swirl vinyl. So that was kind of cool. So at least getting something that's a little more than just run-of-the-mill. All right, putting that aside, we got some other cool new releases. Tesla FullThrottle Live. I know a lot of you guys are having a hard time finding this or getting a hold of it. I heard Amazon's release date on it is pushed back to sometime in June. So sorry if you have to wait on it. Again, digitally it is available. Unfortunately though, there's no liner notes or anything to this. This is just cardboard flap. There's nothing. And if you want to know who's playing in the band, it's this tiny little thing right there. So I was kind of bummed by that. They don't talk about the FullThrottle Saloon where it's recorded, the date, just anything like that. Nothing on it. But you know, I haven't sat down and looked at the track listing, check that out because it's pretty cool. There's a lot of deep cut Tesla songs on here, including 2 new singles that they had put out that don't appear on any albums. Time to Rock, Cold Blue Steel is on here, so you're getting your first taste of those. They do other deeper tracks on here like Breakin' Free, Miles Away. Changes sounds really good on this. Lazy Days, Crazy Nights, always one of my favorite. And the cool thing is then they close it with a live in the studio version of the Aerosmith song SOS just to cap things off. So you're really getting 3 new songs as part of this. I think it makes it totally worthwhile. You know, everything is down-tuned for Jeff Keith's voice. He doesn't hit the high notes anymore, but it works. It's good. My only complaint about it is it sounds like they piped in audience noise. It is too much screaming and everything, and I've been to concerts, many concerts these days, and I'm sorry, the fans today just don't scream like they did back in the 80s, and this sounds like the concert was recorded in an arena back in like 1987, and I just don't think that's the case, but that's my opinion. Hopefully it won't bother you when you hear it. All right, next one up, Elegant Weapons, Horns for a Halo. This one here is Richie Faulkner, guitarist of Judas Priest, his band, featuring Ronnie Romero on vocals, coming from Vandenberg, Rainbow, and a number of other great groups. The other thing that I didn't realize, because it hasn't really been promoted, I don't think these 2 guys are part of the band anymore, but the guys that recorded this album, Rex Brown on bass from Pantera and Scott Travis on drums from Judas Priest. Now, as I understand it, Scott Travis chose to focus just on Judas Priest, and Rex Brown, of course, Pantera reunited. So I believe there's other people that have been brought in, and as promotion was getting close to all of this, that's the names we kept hearing. When I got this and I opened it up, I was sort of like, wow, you know, I wish I had known that about this. It would have made, you know, sort of intrigued me even more for it. But I have to say this, while the music is good, the vocals are good, it has a good sound to it, I don't know, I just haven't connected with it. A lot of you guys have said you really enjoyed this album, but I don't know, it just did not click with me. Now, an album that I didn't think was going to click with me, brand new Metal Church, Congregation of Annihilation. It's the title of this. And in both of these, what's also interesting, there's no band photos inside this, and there's no band photos inside of the Metal Church either. But the new Metal Church has a brand new vocalist, Mark Lopez, taken over from Mike Howe, who passed away in 2022. And when I first put it on, I was not at all into his vocals. It sounded like they had brought in a power metal vocalist doing some really high notes and stuff, and it just turned me off. But I sort of have this thing where I need to listen to an album all the way through before I make, you know, sort of a real assumption of it. And as the tracks went on, I thought it got better and better and better. And by the end of the album, I sort of warmed up to it and I started it over. And it's turned out to be one of those albums that I keep wanting to put back on. So, you know, 3, 4, 5 days later now after this has come out, and I am still really enjoying this album. So out of the 2 of these, I thought this was going to be the one, and it turned out to be the brand new Metal Church. So I highly recommend that to you fans out there of Metal Church, or if you're just looking for a good thrash metal album, the new Metal Church is great. All right, and then I picked up some other stuff. Since we're on the topic of Metal Church, I did have this in the collection. I bought this back when it came out, probably 6 months or so ago, back around Christmas time, I think. But I didn't open it, and I don't recall if I ever showed you guys, so I'm going to show it to you now just in case. It is a Metal Church Best of Mike Howe album from 1996 when he rejoined the band until 2021, the last album that was recorded before his passing away in 2022. And it's got 10 tracks on it, including a bonus track. And it was just really good. I was so into this right now that it was great to pull out this best of and have it. And if you're looking for something that's a best of from the last 5 years while Mike Howe was back in the band, that's great. These 2 albums I definitely recommend together. And then a lot of you guys commented on this to me, and I hadn't known originally that it had come out. I kind of found out after the day of release. As I said, I always head over to Amazon and I check new releases on Friday for anything that I might have missed in the past. And I saw this, Aldo Nova, Nova's Dream, the 1997 album that he did. that has some vocals on it, but it's mostly an instrumental. It's got some atmospheric stuff going on. And I didn't really care for it back in the day. And then I, popped it on digitally and I listened to a little bit of it. And I was kind of like, okay, part of it's good, not too sure about it. But a lot of you guys kept mentioning it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot, and I got it. And then I did a little bit more research in it. The original album, I think, is 62 minutes long. This one is 49 minutes long, so they edited out 13 minutes worth of stuff, and my guess is it's a bunch of that transitional or intro type stuff like that, and it really just brought it down to the song tracks, with only 2 of these being what I would consider those intro or transitional tracks on here, making it a lot better, because now when I listen to it, I'm enjoying it much more. It's also a 2020, it's called a 2023 mix, but the album's got the date of 2022 on it, so don't know if that's just when it was all put together and went off to be pressed and whatnot. But so it's now down to listing 11 tracks on it, down from the maybe 17 or 18 I think that it originally listed. Some of those I know are grouped into these, they just don't call them out now. Other ones have been completely eliminated on it. But this is now sounding like a real album as opposed to just a bunch of, tracks. Some of those, were only a few seconds or a minute and a half kind of thing, where now we're down to actual like full-length tracks on here. And all in all, I gotta say, I popped this on. A few of the tracks stood out to me, were pretty good. And then it just kind of kept growing on me. That was an album that I kept putting back on and back on. So while it doesn't sound like traditional Aldo Nova stuff from like his first 3 to 4 albums, if you are digging his latest stuff that just came out, The Life and Times of Eddie Gage, this is far more in the vein of that, but it also is a nice bridge that shows you what happened after Blood on the Bricks to The Life and Times of Eddie Gage. This is where he was going with in between, and it actually helps, explain to me at least how he got to where he got, and that makes the album a little bit more cool. And then I picked up 2 albums from European bands that I don't really know much about, but have found, them to be pretty interesting here. The first one, Road Wolf, is just an album cover that kept popping up on Amazon and Apple Music and stuff like that, and I didn't know what it was, but it just looked very cool to me. And so I just thought, I need to check out what this band sounds like. If it looks like that, they've got to rock, and I wasn't wrong when I finally checked it out. It's like AC/DC style stuff, but maybe a bit more and when I say complex, I just mean not straight 3-chord rock. There's a bit more to it going on, but it is straight ahead rock music. So I kind of liken it to that. The other one, Nestor, is actually something that while I was at Sound Exchange, one of the guys I know that shops there pretty regularly came in and said, hey, have you heard about this band? He had checked it out and thought it was right up my alley. He played me a little snippet while I was in the store, and I thought, that does sound kind of cool. So when I got home, I checked it out, and I have to say, the music just spoke to me. This is very cool. Apparently, it's a band that, was around 30 years ago, put out an album back or an EP back in the early 90s, but it didn't take, and they broke up. They decided to get back together and continue that sound. So this is very much of the glam metal sort of AOR melodic rock sounding stuff from the late 80s, just done presently. The album came out in 2022 and is very, very good. Each song is unique and really cool. There's a lot of keyboards in it, which I dig. So thanks to my friend who came into Sound Exchange telling me all about it, excuse me, and just great sounding album that I would recommend. So 2 newer bands. Some of you guys are always saying, oh, you only talk about the older bands and stuff like that. I do pick up newer things when it speaks to me. Yes, I want it to sound like that older stuff that I'm typical, listening to from back in the day. These are bands that do it, but they're newer bands. So, yeah, all in all, it's a pretty cool week there of stuff that I got. That Joe Perry album blew me away. I've been spinning that on the turntable ever since I got it. It's caused a whole, Aerosmith down the rabbit hole sort of vibe and everything that I've been going through. So it is just that good. But all in all, Pretty cool stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys got for yourself, what you've been enjoying, and I'll be talking to you all real soon. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good one, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.